You have questions and we got some answers.
Welcome to Q&A with A&D.
All right, Alex, how do you make adjustments for your follows on the social dance floor?
That's a good point. So when we are learning new, specifically the leads, when you're learning new material in terms of like new turn patterns and you're trying to execute them on the dance floor, there's a lot of things to consider. First of all, again, I've been lucky to have a really good mentor and teacher that when the moves were explained, they also explained the nuances and intricacies. For example, we would learn a move, let's say that's an overhead turn, right? Where they would explicitly say, hey, if you're dancing with a follower that's taller than you, this might not be the best choice. And so there would be
a updo hairline, right?
So we would keep that in mind, and then we would always have like an option B. For example, if this turn was was explained with an overhead turn, maybe the plan B would be do it at waist level or at neck level. And so these are like adjustments that can easily be made that's not so strict on it has to be done this specific way. So for leaders, I would suggest when you learn or when you're trying to execute moves, just having that awareness of considering, for example, the height of the follower. In my case, when I dance salsa, I can take advantage of the fact that I'm relatively tall, and so if I dance with followers that are shorter than me, then I can do a lot of moves that are overhead, underneath like my arms, and this is one way that I can avoid having, for example, to compromise my posture to, go waist level when the follower is a lot shorter, and vice versa. If the follower is my height or taller, maybe I might do something at neck level or at waist level.
I think the big thing here is that you want everybody that you dance with to feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
You want them to feel comfortable, and if they're having to crouch or if they're having to reach, strain up, or if, maybe they're bigger and that, there's not enough space to wrap around or what have you, you just want to be able to make the dance a little bit more pleasant for yourself and for the follow.
And I think it's two aspects or two kind of points to consider. One is the physical attributes, right, of your partner, but then the second aspect is the technical, their technical capability. So for example, if I'm dancing salsa, for example, and I do a few basic movements, but then I notice that the tension is like really, really tough. My partner's not really using the floor. I tried to do a single turn and it was like a little bit of a struggle. Then I'm probably gonna keep it more on the basic side in terms of like, quick spins or trying to do doubles or triples. So I'm accounting for, well, if my partner is not able to technically execute some moves, that I'm not going to force them or challenge them in that way, right? Because it becomes then a not so enjoyable dance. And I would also say in terms of like what can be done is also the environment. So Desiree brought up a good point. For example, if the floor is sticky, why would I try to force my partner to do like triple and quadruple turns? If, for example, I see that the space is really tight, why am I going to really be a little bit rougher in my lead, knowing that we have to dance a little bit softer, we have to have like an awareness of who's around us, because then you get into the bumping into people or really trying to have you're having a very tense dance because now there's so much force that you're trying to control, and also you're being aware of your surroundings. So I think, again, the physical attribute is one thing. What they're wearing, right, is also another thing. If you see that, for example, leaders, if the follower is wearing like let's say a top that's flaring, right, and they're constantly adjusting their clothing, then you might want to take it easy, because this is not a dance that's going to be enjoyable if your partner is constantly trying to adjust themselves while still trying to connect with you as a leader.
I think another good point here is that comes with experience, right? And the more that you cruise up in your education and not like just go from 0 to 60 super fast, that you miss all of those things and you understand, like Alex said, okay, you understand right turn, you could do it overhead, you could do it neck level, you could do it waist level, you could do a hammer lock, right? You don't understand at each level the adjustments that you can make, and you cruise past all of that, to default into one way of doing a turn pattern or one way of executing moves, that's gonna not help you, right? So then you might not be able to make those adjustments as quick as somebody who's like, okay, I've done a lot of this before, and I'm able to switch things up on the fly, because every partner is different. Every situation is different. Every moment is different, right? So it's important to meet the moment.
I also think that, because I've been focusing a lot heavily on the leader adjusting to the follower, but I think sometimes, for example, as a follower, if you are more advanced, if you're an instructor and you're dancing with someone who's more junior, that doesn't have as much experience, also allowing them as the leader to feel comfortable. I think when we first start dancing as a leader, it becomes a little nerve-wracking to go out onto the social dance floor and try to regurgitate these moves that you learned in a class, in a workshop, and then, you know, try to do it in a way where you feel comfortable and confident. And I think, you know, we always talk about confidence is like 80-90% of this whole dance game, right? You have to be very sure of yourself. And I think that if you do anything with confidence, you know, people will buy it, right?
Yeah.
You will convince people that you're good. But I think when you're first starting out, obviously as a leader, it could be nerve-wracking. And sometimes I've seen where the follower, for example, has a very like uninterested face if the leader's not doing like the most advanced moves, or if they're not doing a lot of variety within the dance. So I think it's important to also adjust in that way. Smile. You know, the dances are usually 2-3 minutes. Even if it's the most basic dance, make sure that you're doing your part also, so that the dance is enjoyable for everyone.
While staying safe, right? Because if something's not enjoyable, then you also have the right to excuse yourself. But yeah, making adjustments is super, super beneficial for not only you, but your partner.